Turkish Airlines presents Business Africa.
Hello and welcome to Business Africa. I'm India Yuka. Let's take a look at the headlines. The lack of reliable data is hindering growth in Africa, but digital solutions are providing answers to bridge this gap. In the Buenza department, Congo-Brazzaville is betting on agriculture to revitalize local production and empower young people. At the end of the show, we head to Eastern DRC, where insecurity is suffocating the local economy with business closures and runaway inflation. Africa suffers from a lack of reliable data, but digital solutions are opening new perspectives to attract investment and redefine the business landscape.
Africa is one of the fastest growing markets in the world. However, a major obstacle is hindering its full development: the lack of reliable data. In many sectors, the absence of precise information complicates decision-making for investors, whether local or foreign. According to Africa 50, 80% of infrastructure projects in Africa fail at the feasibility and business plan stages, partly due to a lack of expertise and adequate data. Without structured data, it is difficult to assess risks, measure the potential of a market, or tailor offerings to local realities. Currently, sub-Saharan Africa captures only 12% of global impact investment flows, a modest share compared to its potential. But this challenge also presents an opportunity. The rise of fintechs, analytical platforms, and artificial intelligence make it possible to bridge these gaps by structuring available data. Both African and international companies are investing in data collection and analysis, paving the way for more informed decisions and more secure investments. Data collection and analysis are no longer just a technical issue. They have become a strategic lever to attract capital and strengthen the competitiveness of African businesses.
We're joined by Bernard Lerodeau, founder of Encopa Lab, who assists Japanese companies wishing to establish themselves in Africa with the support of real-time data. Based on your experience, which sectors are most affected by the lack of reliable data?
Yeah, I think all sectors, right, would be affected by a lack of data, because if you're a decision maker, let's say in a large corporation, or even a growth startup, and you're looking to do something in a country or a region, and if you don't have any data that you can trust, chances are you're not going to really make a decision, and you'll basically go to the next opportunity, right? So I think it's impacting all the sectors, but where we think and where we're focusing on where the impact is the greatest is really on consumer related sectors, right? So consumer goods, retail, banking, tech also in general. Again, sometimes the macroeconomic indicators, or sometimes like some of the labor data that you might be able to find here and there from some kind of World Bank report or IMF report might help you for some industries. But for consumer-related, consumer-facing industries, you need more disaggregated data.
Comment ce déficit impacte le climat des affaires?
I think the African continent, and obviously each country is different from one to another, and each region within each of those countries is also different from one to another, but we're just missing out. We're just missing out on what could have been a really big opportunity for growth, for knowledge transfer, technology transfer. The lack of disaggregated data, it is definitely impacting the decision making of corporations. And I think the key word here is on a timely basis. Right? The middle class is growing, whether we like it or not. It is asking for new types of services, new goods, at a design that is on par with international standards, right? And so when you look at this middle class that's growing, there is definitely a big opportunity, and in a lot of these different sectors I mentioned.
Artificial intelligence is presented as a solution. Can it truly bridge this gap?
Yeah, so look, the AI is definitely also not like a silver bullet. AI need to be fed with data. And so this is what our strategic partner, Cassie Insight, is doing. They've been building a pipeline of data, and they've been doing this consistently on 20 plus countries. And so when you look at the data pipeline and the way it's being fed on a regular basis and the way they can extract insights on a timely basis, this is the type of confidence we can give to our clients. Because in some cases, a decision that you would have made maybe a year ago, depending on the consumer confidence index and maybe the inflation and whatever, that decision might be too late today. And so those decisions need to be made on a timely basis.
It seems that this data deficit creates opportunities for specialists in data collection. What do you think?
Yeah, there is definitely a market, but really we believe it is actually also very limited because, it's one thing to build a data pipeline and this, sometimes you'll find the breadth and it's super high level in terms of the data that you're analyzing. But what investors need is really the depth of that amount, the disaggregated level of data, the amount of insights that you can really extract. You cannot say anymore to investors, oh, you need to bring patient capital, you need to think long term. Investors also want to have a clear idea now. Private-public partnership is necessary. And then obviously, as you know, there's also the TCAD conference that's happening in August here in Yokohama in Japan. But we're raising the awareness also with African counterparts so that they can really also show up in Yokohama in the next few months.
Thank you very much for your insights.
All right. Looking forward to discussing again in the future.
In Congo, the Moindi Agricultural Protected Zone is becoming a model of agricultural revival, aiming to create opportunities while reducing dependence in imports.
In Congo-Brazzaville, agriculture is at the heart of efforts to diversify the economy and reduce dependence on imports. Despite favorable conditions, the country still imports a large portion of its food at an annual cost of approximately $1.17 billion. To address this, the government has established protected agricultural zones, also known as ZAP. In the Buenza region, the Muindi ZAP, launched in 2024, brings together 500 producers across 200 hectares. The neighboring Buenza ZAP follows a similar model. On 59 hectares, nearly 200 tons of maize have been harvested. The goal is to reduce the cost of imports.
All this production helps us, the local people, instead of just receiving what comes from abroad.
On this land, we planted maize, but the reality is we won't have less than 200 tons. For a first experiment with 59.22 hectares planted, I think this is still a very good thing. I believe that when we divided the harvest, we can end up with an average of 3 tons per hectare. Congo has 10 million hectares of arable land, but only 2 to 4% is being utilized, leaving approximately 9.6 to 9.8 million hectares unused. Since 1980, self-sufficiency programs have been launched with mixed results. More recently, in 2024, a plan to increase fertilizer production was announced, relying on natural gas reserves. The protected agricultural zones could make a significant difference, provided policies are well implemented and there is sustained engagement from authorities and local actors.
The security crisis in eastern DRC is not only threatening peace, but also paralyzing the local economy, leaving thousands unemployed and causing severe shortages.
Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo is bearing the full brunt of escalating violence. In North and South Kivu, the local economy is suffocating day by day. Businesses are shutting down, and as a result, prices are soaring and essential goods are becoming scarce. The Brelima brewery, with its 3,000 employees, is emblematic of this crisis. But its case is not isolated. Every business that closes its doors drags thousands of families down with it, both directly and indirectly. For us, Bralima resellers, we have nothing left to sell. Our work is crippled, and we are directly affected because we can no longer provide for our families. Bralima contributed more than $300,000 in tax revenue to the state. Its shutdown is indicative of a larger crisis characterized by soaring inflation and the prices of essential foods like rice, sugar and oil doubling in certain regions alongside a stagnant banking sector. We are caught up in a vicious cycle. If Bralima's shutdown is due to banking issues, then reopening banks is crucial. But for banks to operate, it also depends on the central bank in Kinshasa. It would be important that there should be a dialogue between Bralima, the banks, and the Congolese government. As difficulties mount in the east, decisions are being made in Kinshasa. The Congolese government recently announced emergency economic measures. However, with escalating attacks and stalled peace negotiations, economic players are still waiting for concrete solutions.
That concludes Business Africa. To rewatch this episode, visit Africanews.com and our digital platforms. See you soon.
Business Africa was presented by Turkish Airlines.